Hello, everyone. This is Tim. I'm laughing at myself. I did something with the camera. Book one for June 2020, The Angry Book by Theodore Isaac Rubin. And we're working our way through it. We have to deal with anger. So let's get through it. Depression. Where there is anxiety, there is bound to be depression, and vice versa. I have never seen clinical evidence of depression without signs of concomitant raw anxiety. Depression may be mild or severe, acute or chronic, periodic, in regular on and off phases, or sporadic. It has a cause, but the cause may be elusive and impossible to discern. Depression is always painful and destructive, sometimes to the point of paralysis. It may completely destroy one's ability to function and rob one of every semblance of happiness. Depression, however, is not always severe and incapacitating. It can also be subtle and chronic, so chronic in fact that its victim may have no awareness that he is depressed. I have seen patients who have been depressed for so many years that they forgot what it is like to feel otherwise. Only at their first sign of getting well did they awake to the fact that they had been somber and heavy-hearted for years. While there may be very natural reasons for depression, though often the reasons are quite neurotic, it cannot continue without benefit of a slush fund. One may be depressed because the loss of a loved one, but continued depression needs a slush fund to fuel it. Depression almost always derives from twisting. This poison is produced by turning anger inward upon oneself. Sustained depression equals sustained self-hate, and some victims know they hate themselves. They spend hours haranguing themselves, torturing themselves, and telling all who will listen how dastardly they are. Other victims have no idea they are self hating, but they are sometimes depressed enough to commit suicide. It is appropriate to be sad at a loss, but to hate oneself, to sustain hatred of oneself for that loss, is invariably self punishing, neurotic, perverse, poisonous, and destructive. Guilt over eating, self imposed starvation. This is very important for our community and for COVID. Remember, obesity and diabetes is one of the pre-existing conditions that end up in a more can end you up in a more severe or end up harming you more severely if you get COVID-19 or coronaviruses. I was clumsy saying that, but let's get to this. These seem like strange bedfellows, but they are really close relatives. They almost never exist without depression. Sometimes the depression is obvious, often it is nowhere to be seen, safely tucked away. But you can bet it is there, just below the surface. You have only to consider the self destructive processes involved to appreciate the necessary twisting into self hate. Depression must be there, and sometimes it emerges in clear clinical form as soon as the overeating or starvation stops. I myself in practice have yet to see these symptoms in other extremely angry people. Unfortunately, these people did not express anger normally. Many of them hardly felt angry at all, but they all had huge slush funds, and they busily and unconsciously twisted slush into these poisons. This was true of the perpetually jolly fat girl who, without her awareness, ate even more than her usual huge quantities each time her anger was provoked. Normal people would have become angry. She ate but took months to connect deeply in feeling wise. Her anger and its repression with eating, she eventually lost weight, but only with much work and insight. This was also true of the skinny, appetiteless, dour man and the woman who perpetually felt guilty for an interminable list of supposed crimes she couldn't possibly have been connected with. Of course, the guilt, as well as the overeating and starvation, were all means these people use to turning anger on themselves, attempting to dissipate it, but hating themselves and punishing themselves even more. Think of the self-hate involved in starving oneself, in torturing oneself with a chronic burden of guilt, with stuffing oneself with food to the point of bodily distortion, nausea, and self-revulsion. Think of the poisonous effects of oneself as well as one's relationship with other people, again, having repercussions upon oneself. The poisoning possibilities are infinite. Believe it or not, it sometimes happens that fat people, obsessive eaters, guilt-ridden people, and skinny people, completely unable to eat, sometimes requiring force feeding or intravenous infusions, trade or switch symptoms doing complete turnabouts. I know two grossly obese women who not only lost weight, but eventually starved themselves to a severe underweight state of malnutrition. It took much treatment before they regained a semblance of normal appetite. This is not really surprising when we realize that although upbringing and environment may be different in these people, the underlying causes of symptoms are often similar and even identical. So important we deal with eating. That's such a crucial thing in this country. And the Angry Book, what can I say? I want to thank you for your support. And until next time, I say please take care of your mind, take care of your body, and be safe.